So I know we're only about 72 hours or so after Yom Kippur, but I already made a mistake. You see, a couple of weeks before Yom Kippur, Rabbi Guzik always asked me if our sukkah is ready. I say, yeah, it's ready. And so right after Yom Kippur, I bring out the poles, and then as a family, we decide which color the sheets are going to be, so the walls sort of rotate every year. And the last part of the sukkah, what do we put on top? A schach. For us, we use those bamboo mats. They sort of come in one piece. And so Thursday night, the last thing after work and coming home and putting the kids to bed, I went outside and put the schach on, and it literally disintegrated right on my head. So for about an hour, I tried to put it back up, and it would fall back down, and put it up and fall back down. And I was a little embarrassed to go inside and tell everybody what happened. Thankfully, we live in Los Angeles. And so I got in the car and I went down to the Pico Robertson area. And if you go after Yom Kippur to that area, it's really unbelievable. It's like mini Jerusalem. And I found a place that said Sukkah Sales. The first store I went in, they were literally about to close their shop. And I said, do you have any schach? And I needed the exact dimension. And she said, I have one more left. There is schach on our sukkah, everybody. But besides the schach, when you go on Pico Robertson area, you see every 10 feet pop-up lulav and etrog shops. And it really is amazing. In fact, Jay Harwood, our ritual director, created our own in the hallway here, and we thankfully sold out of our lulavim and etrogs this year. And I want to share a little about the lulav and etrog right now because we are not doing it because it's Shabbat, but come back tomorrow and we will begin the ritual of the lulav and etrog. Now, one of the first things that we learn in preschool is sharing is, thank you, you're listening. Sharing is caring. And I wish I could tell you that was true for the mitzvah of the lulav and etrog, but the Torah tells us, ulekachtem lachem. It means you should take it. And so if you've ever seen, if somebody does not have a lulav and etrog, you shouldn't go up to the person that does and say, excuse me, but can I borrow that? Because that wouldn't be taking the lulav and etrog for yourself. Rather, you should literally have that person put it on the table and you take it for yourself. And the rabbis say, why? And the commentaries add one word. They say, shelachem, meaning no sharing the lulav and etrog, but it should be for you. Why? Rabbi Jerome Blass, who was a rabbi in the New Jersey area for about 50 years, he was also a doctorate in psychology, and he gave an interesting twist about how even though the Torah tells us that sharing is, that you should take your own lulav and not share it, that really the essence of this mitzvah is to share. You may be familiar with the midrash about the lulav and the etrog, that each part of the four species looks like a part of our body. The willow looks like our mouth, the hadass, the myrtle, like our eye, the lulav itself, the branch, like our spine, and the etrog, like our heart. And Rabbi Blass makes a distinction between two types of sharing. He says, yes, the Torah is correct, ulekachtem lachem. You should take the lulav for yourself, because only when you do and understand the deeper essence of the meanings related to how the lulav and etrog look like parts of our body, only then should you share it with others. And so I just want to go through the four parts and explain in a deeper way, not just that the lulav and etrog looks like our body, but how it can enhance our own Jewish life as we come out of Yom Kippur and the High Holy Days. We just spent the last 10 days in this room and around this community uttering words, probably thousands and thousands of words of confession and repentance and change. And now we go into the sukkah, this vulnerable structure, and we look at this willow, the arava, and we have to think, what is it that our mouth does besides speak these words? Our mouth should restore us to pure speech. Rabbi Blass, who I spoke about, wrote a sermon about this in the 1970s. This was before Twitter, even before X, and before Facebook, and before text messaging. Today, that willow branch can represent every device that we use, every push of a letter on a keyboard, every syllable that comes out of our mouth. What words do we speak and what words do we listen to? But more importantly, he says, what Jewish words are on our lips? When was the last time that we listened to a Jewish podcast, engaged in a Jewish conversation outside of this room? Our mouths go everywhere with us. And if our mouths go everywhere with us, our tradition can go with us too. But our mouth is only one part. Let's move up our face to our eyes. The Jewish eye can see differently than any other eye. The eye that must also see the wisdom of our tradition. When was the last time that we read a book about Jewish history or Israel or any Jewish topic? When was the last time that outside of this room, I stress again, we opened up the Chumash and we read the Parsha, the portion of the week, or read a book about Shabbat like Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel's book, The Sabbath? Our eyes are not only meant to look at bookshelves, but they're meant to open up those books and look at the words. There's a reason that the Nazis decided to destroy books as part of their regime against the Jews, because they understood that if we could not see the words in those books, then they did not exist. And if they did not exist, then we could not believe. When we use our mouths and our eyes to engage in this world, then in essence the lulav becomes the spine which it is, and we have the self-respect and dignity, then we can walk through this world as Jews. Think about how you display your Judaism in public. Do you wear that Magen David in front, or when you go out, do you tuck it in? Do you wear your kippah on your head, or do we wear a kippah under our hat? What does it look like to have that self-respect when we walk out of here and be Jewish outwardly, not only by name, not only by word, but also how we walk through this world? And finally, the etrog. The etrog, the Talmud tells us, domei lalev. It is similar to the heart. The Talmud teaches a very interesting thing that says anybody who sees an etrog in their dreams. Anybody dream about an etrog last night? Yes. Then you are beautiful in the eyes of God. Why? Because the Talmud teaches us about dreams, holchin achar hapeh, that dreams go according to what's on our tongue. Meaning, what do we dream about? Something that we're thinking about. And so when we use an etrog, we're not supposed to use an etrog yavesh, a dried, shriveled up etrog, but it should be a hidor mitzvah, a beautiful etrog, because it represents a full heart, ready to dream with the words that we use, ready to dream with the tradition that we see, and ready to dream with the pride and self-dignity that we stand for. The great philosopher Franz Rosenzweig once said, if we want Judaism to survive, it must become a religion that is seen with the eye, tasted with the mouth, and felt with the heart. Rosenzweig understood that this holiday of Sukkot is also called Zman Simchatenu, a time of joy, which is at the heart of our Jewish tradition. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs says it was not sadness, but it was gladness that has gotten us through time. And so when the Torah tells us, don't share that lulav, what it really means is participate in Sukkot. It's a time of joy. It's a time when we understand how we can put joy back into our lives. And only then, share it with somebody else. Sukkot is meant not to be celebrated here, but after Kiddush, we will go into the Sukkah on Wilshire Boulevard and have our cookies and challah there. Why? So everybody, not just online, but I mean everybody, can see what we are doing. So people can ask questions of us. And so others can experience the joy that we are experiencing right now. And so this Sukkot, take a lulav and an etrog, but one request, just do something more. Wave that lulav and etrog, learn something new. Might I dare say even come back next week for Simchat Torah, the end of the most joyous time of our holy day. For when we do, we will demonstrate that this holiday really is about sharing the joy that we have of our tradition and the ways in which that joy can be a catalyst for change in this most vulnerable world. Chag Sameach.